Joe Biden. Damn right. Fucking prick.
Alright, Joe, let's see if you can even get to the damn mark this time. Remember, like we practice, walk around, go up and say hi to the general, and then get behind the podium. Yep, up the stairs, careful, careful. You know how you are with stairs. Yeah, okay, that podium, yes. Walk forward, say hi to the general, and stop. And stop. Where are you going? Not that oh my God. Joe, go back to the podium. Joe, oh my God, this is so awkward. These poor cadets. Joe, to the podium. Could you, yeah, thank you. Direct him to the podium, please. Come on. There you go, old man. Get up there. No, the podium, you idiot. Where are you going? Oh, God. You know, I hope something happens to you later.
A few moments later.
All right, go ahead and walk off the stage now, Joe. Whoa, whoa, whoa! What happened? Did someone push you? Invisible stairs? Where? There's nothing there.
Jordan Peterson, right? This is what I'm saying to you. Why the rage, bruh? You're doing well, but you're a mean, mad white man, and you're going to get us right. And
I mean, I'm not making the case that I haven't had advantages in my life and disadvantages in my life like most people. You don't know anything about my background or where I came from, and it doesn't matter to you because fundamentally I'm a mean white man. That's a hell of a thing to say in a debate.
So I'm saying again, you're a mean, mad white man, and the viciousness is evident.
Okay.
He's at the Air Force Academy. He actually fell down? Well, I hope he wasn't hurt. But it's the whole thing is, look, the whole thing is crazy. You got to be careful about that. Because you don't want that. Even if you have to tiptoe down a ramp, you got to tiptoe.
Demonize, and then we call it the wrap-up smear. If you want to talk politics, you call it the wrap-up smear. You smear somebody with falsehoods and all the rest, and then you merchandise it. And then you write it, and they'll say, see, it's reported in the press that this, and this.
So the Democrat Party leaks a lie to the media, the complicit media, who goes along and willingly writes an article so that later the Democrat Party can point to that article and say, see, it must be true because it's in the news. It's in the New York Times. It's in fill in the blanks. This is how they perpetrate lies to the American people and to the world. See how that works? Kind of like the Russia collusion. That never was.
The town of Rolling Stone will be back, and we'll be with you every step of the way. And what did I say? I said Rolling Fork, Rolling Stone. I got my mind going here.
President, you said at the beginning that the debt ceiling was not negotiable. Isn't that what you've just done here? And isn't that what
you guys, look, we're not negotiating debt ceiling. Here's the deal. They passed the debt ceiling, and they said they'd only do it on condition that it have all these cuts in it. I said, I'm not going to do that. You pass the debt ceiling, period. I'll negotiate with you on the cuts. What you say, what's going to happen, what the budget's going to look like. That's what we are negotiating in order to get to them deciding that they're going to go along with a new debt ceiling, meaning that it's not attached. It's something totally different attached than was attached before. But if you want to try to make it look like I made some compromise in the debt ceiling, I didn't. I made a compromise on the budget.
That's what they wanted, is you to make a compromise on the budget, and that's what you've done, even though you haven't gone as far as they wanted. Isn't that right?
Sure, yeah. Well, can you think of an alternative?
Cabinet is majority people of color for the first time in history. The cabinet is majority female for the first time in history. A majority of White House senior staff identify as female. 40% of White House senior staff identify as part of the racially diverse communities. And a record 7 assistants to the president are openly LGBTQ+. So again, this is something that the president prides himself on.
I'm going to tell it to you straight. I'm going to tell you the truth. Our darkest days are ahead of us, not behind us.
And now's the time when things are shifting. There's going to be a new world order out there.
Let's clap for that, you stupid bastard.
This would be the time because you really need world order, financial world order.
This alternative vision argues that ordinary men and women are too small-minded to govern their own affairs. That order and progress can only come when individuals surrender their rights to an all-powerful sovereign.
We are here to develop the great narrative, the story for the future. But in order to shape the future, you have first to imagine the future, you have to design the future, and then you have to execute.
My fellow Americans, it looks like some things have changed. Are we doing a good enough job teaching our children what America is and what she represents?
You want an abortion? Get one!
Younger parents aren't sure that an appreciation of America is the right thing to teach modern children.
We're not going to make America great again. It was never that great.
When I drive into a neighborhood and there are American flags, it's a message of white supremacy.
I'm warning of an eradication of the American memory that could result in an erosion of the American spirit.
We need to completely dismantle the police department.
If we forget what we did, we won't know who we are. We've got to do a better job of getting across that America is free, and freedom is special and rare. Freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of enterprise. As long as we remember our first principle and believe in ourselves, the future will always be ours. Ours was the first revolution in the history of mankind that truly reversed the course of government, and with 3 little words: we, the people. We, the people, are free. Once you begin a great movement, there's no telling where it'll end.
And these Republicans, they're going to say that Joe Biden refused to sit down with them. That's a fake narrative.
What's the plan here?
He never came to the table to negotiate on the debt ceiling. That was not something that occurred. That is not something that's happening. We've been very clear. We're not negotiating around the debt ceiling.
You know what happens to the president when he doesn't know the question ahead of time?
What was the last country you traveled to?
The last country I've traveled, I'm thinking what's the last one I was in. I've been to 89, I met with 89 heads of state so far. So I'm trying to think, where was the last place I was? It's hard to keep track. Yeah, you're right, Ireland. That's where it was. How'd you know that?
He was in Ireland last week. The President of the United States couldn't remember the country he was in last week.
Let me simplify this for you. This is an organized criminal enterprise.
The Gaudis.
I've done this for 30 years, okay? This is how they do it. What you've got is the hallmarks of corruption, the accounts, the LLCs, the evasion, and the money laundering. The partners come in, collect the foreign money, and then distribute it to an LLC in incremental amounts. Joe Biden is the front man. Hunter Biden is the bag man. Okay? Joe Biden goes into foreign countries lecturing them about anti-corruption, and he is representing the freest, greatest nation on earth and is wrapping himself in the flag of the United States while his son is collecting the money at the back door. This happened in Romania, and this happened in the Ukraine. Joe Biden uses his position as the vice president of the United States to tell the Ukraine to get the prosecutor off the company where Hunter is a member and making $80,000 a month, or he's going to withhold our taxpayer money $1 million. All right? This is an point man in energy and a point man on anti-corruption, and his son is right behind him with the bags. Now let's talk about.
Looking at your child, you know the needs of innocent very to live, and not having the money to pay for it. Not a joke. Think about it. Think about what you'd think about at the time. Think about how you'd feel. It's wrong. It's not who we are, and we're going to fix that too. We can make meaningful progress on dealing with gun violence. Because make no mistake, sit down, you'll hear what I have to say. You think you fuck Joe Biden! Fuck Joe Biden! Fuck Joe Biden! We can afford to do this in terms, this is a big country. The idea we can accommodate more people in the interest of the United States, and by the way, guess what? They're the reason why, the legal as well as undocumented, are the reason why our society is functioning, the reason why our economy is growing. We don't talk about that. We stand up and act like it's a burden. It is not a burden. It's a gift.
After hearing that, you should ask yourself, he said it's a gift, and here's what's happening. You flood the border with millions and millions of immigrants. You fight, Democrats are fighting for people to vote with no ID. That way, if the popular vote sways Republican, you've got millions upon millions of loyal Democratic voters out of fear that if the Republicans win, they'll get sent back to their country. If the Democrats win, they're going to be taken care of. A gift? How is that a gift to anybody? But really listen to what it is they're saying and think.
My son was a major, U.S. Army, lost him in Iraq. Service medal, Bronze Star, like you all about country. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
That's a damn lie, and you know it!
Thing in that black box. An unrelenting stream of immigration. Non-stop. Non-stop. Folks like me who were Caucasian of European descent, for the first time in 2017, will be in an absolute minority in the United States of America. Absolute minority. Fewer than 50% of the people in America, from then and on, will be white European stock. That's not a bad thing. That's a source of our strength.
This is the worst graduation of my life. This is a campaign speech. A campaign speech. You got this white man here, Howard. What is going on? I would have given a better speech. I did give a better speech at my high school graduation. My high school graduation was a lot better than this bullshit. I'm really disappointed. Howard, you disappointed us.
I try to call the balls and strikes regardless of whether or not you have an R or a D by your name. I've been accused, all of us have been, over this particular issue that we're conspiracy theorists. We're not. What we're proving to you today is showing you actual bank records, actual evidence of shell companies and businesses. There are more businesses and more Bidens involved that we knew of. You have to issue more subpoenas because every time we turn over a rock, there's more information, there's more possible corruption, there's more allegations that need to be investigated. This is what we know today. Money flowed from the Chinese Communist Party, aligned with individuals into American shell companies, and then that money was wired and transferred to Biden family members. This could be the most corrupt scheme in American politics where a sitting vice president, where we saw members of his family, 9 members so far, there may be more, that were enriched from countries all over the world. And we're providing more information about Romania today. We know about China. We know that the president denied this during an election in 2020, continues to deny it to this day. And we want everyone held accountable if they have violated their oath of office. We shouldn't have folks that are in office that are betraying their oath of office. We shouldn't have people in office that are betraying their country. If they're paying loads of cash to their family members from adversaries of ours around the world, it's wrong, whether you have a Republican or a Democrat by your name.
You started it. You started it. So I see you on social media and on the news and out marching the street, crying your crocodile tears and claiming that you're being set upon by fascist right-wingers who won't let you just live your lives in peace. What did we ever do to you, you cry? Why are you so angry at us? Well, let me answer that question. You see, the rest of us were living our lives. We were minding our own business when you came along and demanded that we abandon everything we know about fundamental physical reality for your sake. That's what you did. You claim the right to walk into whatever bathroom you want, whatever locker room, whatever sports team. Nobody else has ever had that right. Nobody else has ever had that right to just do whatever they want, go anywhere they want. But you wanted it. You came after our children, seeking to suck them into your suicide cult just to make yourselves feel better. You tried to restructure human society to make it affirming to you personally. You wanted to force the whole world to bend to your narcissism. You tried to put words in our mouths. You tried to control how we speak, even when you're not in the room. Your ego is so out of control that you even tried to take possession of parts of the English language, like you can own them.
You know, the only other adversary of ours who's anywhere near as good as the Russians is China. So why should Russia have all the fun? And since Russia is clearly backing Republicans, why don't we ask China to back us?
I hereby tonight ask China.
That's right. And not only that, China, if you're listening, why don't you get Trump's tax returns? I'm sure our media would richly reward you.
Isn't it true that leading up to the 2020 election, Twitter had weekly meetings with not just the FBI, with DOJ, with DHS, with DNI, to conduct this unconstitutional censorship by surrogate? We know that because of the Twitter files, correct?
Correct.
Wow. And it was not just meetings, not just censorship of stories like the Hunter Biden laptop story. We also now know that the FBI paid Twitter over $3.4 million of taxpayer funds to censor these stories before the 2020 election. Is that correct?
That money was paid. Twitter confirmed that.
Isn't it true, according to the Twitter files, that there were so many FBI officials who then went to work at Twitter that created their own Slack channel and crib sheet for onboarding? The Twitter files confirm that, correct?
Correct.
This is the definition of election meddling, and it's the definition of election meddling by the FBI on behalf of Democrats, paid for by the U.S. tax.
So many issues here. You've mentioned a couple of them. There are many, many more. We could go down the list of his indefensible record that he's had as president. One of the things, though, is that the American people need to be able to examine these issues. What's the traditional way that we normally do that? Through a debate, right? Well, the DNC just announced we're not going to have any presidential primary debates. And so, you know, for me as a presidential candidate back in 2020, they were rigging the system back then. They were just more subtle about it, tossing softball questions to Kamala Harris and giving people more time. But now they are so arrogant and so disrespectful to the American people and voters. They're just saying, nope, we're not going to allow any debates. We're not going to put his record in front of the American people. We're not going to give people any choice other than Joe Biden. And so my appeal to Democrats and to American voters, if people are thinking about voting for President Biden, they really need to ask themselves if they want to support a candidate that has so much disdain and disrespect for the American people. There are
It was an anomaly because he was running against a politician who'd been in politics for 27 years, with the entire media against him, the wife of a former president. Like, they thought it was in the bag, right? They're like, no, Trump doesn't stand a chance. They put it all over the news. Trump's chance of winning was less than 2% before. They thought, we put it all over the news that Trump ain't gonna win. We brainwashed everyone, he's racist, it's fine. And he won. So what did they do the second election? Got votes out the sky and poured them in the machine. They rigged it. Oh, we can't let him win again, just rig it. Simple.
I also want to thank my buddy Kamala, who I work for up in the White House, for leading on this issue. I also want to thank my buddy Kamala, who I work for up in the White House.
These people are absolutely and utterly emotionally led. Like a child, you ask a child why they're crying, half the time they haven't got a reason. These are not logical individuals. They don't sit and think, and they have no interest in being right and wrong. I think this is the biggest difference between the right and the left politically, is that people on the right are interested in being factually correct, and people on the left are interested in how they feel. It's just a lack of emotional maturity, and these people never grow up. These people feel something, they've been told to feel something, they decided they feel it. It doesn't matter if you prove them wrong, that's how they feel, and they're just going to continue to talk garbage and try and push for imaginary protest and just be general children. And none of them can sit and put together a logical argument for the reason they believe any of the things they believe. This is insanity.
I get rid of you, which I'm enjoying you so much today. I really am.
I'm enjoying you too.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
But a little bird told me that you said you might be resigning the job this year. Say it isn't so. Is it true?
I don't know when I'm leaving. This is an honor and a privilege, and I love working for President Biden every single day.
So today, as you all saw just an hour or so ago, President Obama announced that, President Biden. Whoa!
If I could make an arrangement where I had a stand-in, a front man or front woman, and they had an earpiece in, and I was just in my basement in my sweats, looking through the stuff, and then I could sort of deliver the lines, but somebody else was doing all the talking and ceremony. I'd be fine with it.
You just think that anyone can come to the U.S. like? Absolutely. If you go to New York, go to the Statue of Liberty, what's it say? All is welcome. I don't think it says that, but dude, this is great because I just happened to pick up 3 guys from Honduras. Well, they were at Home Depot. They're from Honduras and they have nowhere to go. So this just works out perfect. Look, Hector takes medication twice a day, and right now they got to use the bathroom. All 3 of them go to shit. Is it cool if they stay here? No. Why not? What do you mean? I don't know them. Who are they? All right, so they can't stay here then? It's cool if they come to the country, just not your fucking house? No. Come on, bro. Come on.
What do you think is Joe Biden's strongest feature as a competitor in politics?
Well, I would have said experience, but he doesn't really have experience because I don't think he remembers what he did yesterday. So how is that experience? He's been there a long time. He was never known as a smart person.
Pick one good thing. Okay, what is his weakest point, do you
can't
think?
tell you. I mean, I'm really serious. He's got many. I could talk about weak points all day long. First of all, he's not mentally sharp enough to be president. Biden doesn't know, he doesn't know he's alive.
Fucking president is sniffing children's hair. How is that not our new national anthem? It's just him sniffing hair to a fucking trap beat, dude.
Did you see him just give up on his speech the other day? That motherfucker said, anyway, he forgot the word. He forgot what he's talking about. He just said, anyway.
Dude, damn.
I would, in fact, make sure that we immediately surge to the border. All those people are seeking asylum. They deserve to be heard. That's who we are. We're a nation that says if you want to flee and you're fleeing oppression, you should come.
This bus, they have dozens, if not hundreds of these buses all throughout El Paso, all throughout Texas, taking illegal immigrants everywhere. And it's more important to protect the illegal immigrants and drive this bus through a ravine across the border so they can get them on without the American media seeing them. And this bus is going to take them somewhere deep in the heart of Texas, drop them off. But Border Patrol tells us the border's secure, nobody's crossing, nobody's coming in illegally, as it happens right in front of our face.
Move back. Move back. Move back. Thank you.
Yeah, get out of the way, Americans. There's illegals coming in. Get out of the way, dirty Americans. We got non-citizens we gotta help. You dirty, stinking Americans. This isn't your country.
It's like all the money's gone and a collapse is imminent. But we have to stay calm and think of ways to prevent a bank run so we can get ours. Let's ensure that all banks are flocking, talking with each other and sharing information in real time using the back channels we set up in October. And let's use the full force of the media to calm the public and to assure them that their deposits are safe. We may not be able to prevent a collapse, but if we work together, we can limit the fallout for us and preserve the continuity of government.
Years or absorbs 48 pounds of CO2 per year. This means 7.6 billion tons of CO2 are absorbed by trees every year. Now, it is estimated that 545 million tons of CO2 is produced in Canada every year, which means the trees in Canada, and I'm not talking about all the other vegetation other than trees. We're not talking about that. We're not including that. Which means trees only in Canada absorb 14 times more than the carbon emission of Canada, and we are made to pay a carbon tax. So tell me again what it is about. Is it about climate change? It's not. If there's no CO2, we're doomed. There cannot be life without CO2. Now let's talk about the US. There are 228 billion trees in the United States, with the capacity to clean 5.47 billion tons of CO2 every year. And the US produces 5 billion tons of CO2, which means the trees only absorb more than carbon emissions in the United States. So what are we talking about?
I love his data here. He's addressing the issue that climate change comes from CO2 emissions, but there's trees. Isn't that amazing how God created trees that need the CO2 and also clean our air at the same time, meaning no climate change? And if there is, then why are the politicians keep buying $1 million oceanfront property?
People push for socialism because they don't study it. They don't know its history. They don't know its massive failures.
Young people in America like socialism, but it's bigger in Latin America.
Yeah, it's the constant in Latin America. We have like 50 shades of socialism, right? You have extreme socialism in countries like Venezuela, Nicaragua, Cuba, and then you have less worse cases, but that are also dramatic, especially when you talk about massive inflation like Argentina or Brazil or Mexico. Moderate socialism like Honduras or Guatemala, but we're all part of that same mentality that the government has these magical powers in order to control the economy, tell you how to live your life, and definitely not let you be free because you're too dumb or too poor in order to be free and responsible of your own life.
About how you intend on getting the union vote when there is a large portion of the union workers that are gun enthusiasts, and you are actively trying to diminish our Second Amendment right and take away our guns. You're for it. All right, thank you.
Now, shush. You're not allowed to own any weapons. I'm not taking your gun away at all. You need 100 rounds.
So when you were in Beto, when you said you're going to take our guns,
I did not say that. That's not true. I did not say that.
It's a viral video. Okay, this is not okay. Hold on. All right. Hey, let's
don't tell me anything, pal. I'm going to go outside.
There's a lot of guys. A lot of guys want it.
I'm not worried. Hold on. Give me a break, man. Don't be such a worried guy.
Hey, there's a lot of.
We are closer to a risk of World War III and nuclear war than we've ever been in my life. And for what? For what? To make sure that the Donbass region is ruled by Kiev rather than Moscow? Like, is that really worth it? Jesus Christ.
One of my missions is to turn on its head the idea that carbon dioxide is a pollutant and somehow dangerous, when in fact it is the most important nutrient for all life on Earth, and without it this would be a dead planet. So I say not only is carbon dioxide good, it is essential. And it's a good thing that we are putting some more carbon dioxide in the atmosphere because it was running low before we came along. And so far in this century, there has been zero warming from a statistically significant basis, and the UK Met Office says so. Yet 1/3 of all human CO2 emissions have been put into the atmosphere in the last 18 years. So it doesn't look like a lockstep causal relationship between increasing CO2 and warming of the Earth. We're putting plenty of CO2 into the atmosphere. We don't need to do it this quickly, but if we bring it up to a higher level than it is today, we will get immediately an increase in the growth of crops and trees, which is not a bad thing.
People in other parts of the world are not teaching their young children to hate their own country. And if you continue to do this, how is the West going to do in the battle of civilizations? Because that's what we're in, right? The Chinese want to thrive, the Russians want to thrive, and they're teaching their children to be strong, to be confident, to go out there to learn science instead of, equity and diversity. And a bridge doesn't work very well if it's built on diversity instead of math. So
I'm with you.
September 11th, 2001, and January 6th, 2021.
Newsflash, nobody gives a fuck about it. We all admit that shit was pretty dumb, but that's about it. When we saw the news, we were shocked and we were kind of tense. Like, damn. Then we forgot about it by the 10th. Nobody's walking around stressing over Jan 6. It happened and that was it. We haven't gave a damn since. It's all good when riots are kept in the hood, but now you're freaking out cause this was in the neck of your woods. Now it's a big deal. Now it gets real. Now it's important to us. Not back then in 2020 when stores were boarded up. Not back then when goods were looted and folks were brutalized. Not then, but right now, cause it happened to the suit and ties. That shit's way above my head. We were fucking shit up all year with demonstrations that left dozens dead. But people like Nancy didn't flinch, in fact they loved it then. People will do what they do, bitch, ain't that what you said? Yep. There's literally compilation videos of you and all your colleagues inciting this kind of crap. So it's very fascinating to watch you swallow your words. You put your own foot in your mouth and now you're forced to dial it back. It's fine when you encourage it in my town, in his town, in her town, when the whole fucking city's being burnt down. You smile as you give the green light for mobs to rob shit, but as soon as it comes close to you, then it's a problem. Got it.
How would you say your mental focus is?
Oh, it's focused. I haven't, look, I have trouble even saying to myself my own head the number of years. I no more think of myself as being as old as I am than fly.
So I want to show you guys something real quick. You guys see this map right here? Can you guess what this map is? Well, if you couldn't guess, this map is of all the riots that happened in 2020. So you can miss me, okay? You can miss me with all the, January 6th. It was a 3-hour protest that a handful of 1% of people got out of hand, okay? And if you're out here saying, well, no one's above the law when it comes to possibly arresting Trump, but you're going to ignore this, you're the problem. Start waking up, or your country will be dead for good very soon.
For your reward, you are going to get on a Jet Network private, beautiful, luxury plane and fly to Washington, D.C. You're going to meet with a good friend of mine, Senator Chuck Schumer, at the Hay Adams Hotel. It's old, it's beautiful. They don't build them like that anymore. Gold Rush, I'll see you back in the boardroom.
Welcome to Washington.
What's your name? Thank you very much. Andrea Lake. How are you?
Andrea, nice to see you.
Why
don't we sit down?
Great.
Please make yourselves at home. I was born in Brooklyn, the same place where Donald Trump's family comes from. His father and my grandfather were builders together in Brooklyn.
Really?
Yeah. Even when he was much younger, you knew that he was going to go places. So it's no.
Senator Schumer and Mr. Trump are good friends. They both have a passion for life, and you get that immediately talking to him, that he actually cares about what he...
Me, the easiest scandal to follow was the Trump document scandal. That was the one that was easy to follow. It was simple. There's some stuff that's supposed to be in the White House that ain't. And the media, y'all did y'all's job. Y'all jumped on that story. As soon as the Trump document story broke, everybody was down in Mar-a-Lago. We're reporting live from the documents, and we're gonna find them. And then we found out Joe Biden had documents too, and it was like, oh, it's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. Everybody got documents. Mike Pence has some documents. Who care about it? Ooh, look, a Chinese spy balloon. Would you look at that? Ooh. Well done, media.
Capitalist societies are better than communist ones. Okay? So if you doubt it, then just ask yourself the question, would I rather live in South Korea or North Korea? Would I rather live in West Germany in the 1970s or East Germany or in the 1960s? So this is not, I submit that this is actually not a controversial statement, but in university campuses, it is would be considered flamingly radical.
What was it like to get a hold of the Twitter files? Like, what was that experience like? How did that go down?
So one of the first things we did was just to look at how they made a decision to pull Trump off the platform. And it turned out that the 7th was an important day because that was when they started to rationalize this decision to deplatform Trump, even though their own people inside had decided that he had not violated their terms of service. So they were sort of stuck making up a reason to deplatform him. And that was an important theme, was that they just kept changing the rules, basically, to do what they wanted to do. But over time, we just kept finding like this weird, like FBI wants us to do this. You know, there's these other government agencies. Oh, you know, this all these people used to work at the FBI. The CIA shows up, Department of Homeland Security, and we're kind of like, what the hell is going on? And there is a huge operation by U.S. government officials, U.S. government contractors, and all of these super sketchy NGOs getting money from who knows where, basically demanding that Twitter start censoring people, looking at how the U.S. government during the War on Terror had waged disinformation campaigns, propaganda campaigns, and it became clear to us, you know, over time that the U.S. government had turned its propaganda and disinformation campaigns that it had been waging abroad, it turned them against the American people, and that was where you just sort of get chills up your spine.
Here's the million-dollar question that nobody has been asking throughout this process. This concept of systemic and institutionalized racism. If it really exists, let's examine every system and institution in American culture today. Higher education and academia, big tech, large corporations, Hollywood, the music industry, movies, everything that permeates our culture daily, all the way up to the federal government, is all controlled by the left.
Right.
So if there's really systemic and institutionalized racism, as our president of the United States says, who's really at fault to blame?
That is a great question.
I'm told. Gay marriage, a flag amendment, and God only knows what else. I can't believe the American people can't see through this. We already have a law, the Defense of Marriage Act. We've all voted, not where I voted, and others said, look, marriage is between a man and a woman, and states must respect that. Nobody's violated that law. There's been no challenge to that law. Why do we need a constitutional amendment? Marriage is between a man and a woman.
Tennessee Democrat Justin Pearson, aka Martin Luther King, has been exposed. Remember that speech of him talking like MLK?
Seemed like the NRA and gun lobbyists might win. I don't know how long this Saturday in the state of Tennessee might last.
Would it shock you to find out that contrary to what people are saying, that's not his real voice? Well, here's a recently surfaced video of him talking back in 2016.
Justin J. Pearson, and I'm running for president of BSG. There are a few reasons that we're running this campaign this year. One has to do with representation. How can we represent all voices in a conversation? Resurrection is a promise.
So it's pretty clear, as we all thought, this entire thing is an act. Or his voice is transgender. Who knows?
Do you wish like you had a third term? And I used to say, you know what, if I could make an arrangement where I had a stand-in, a front man or front woman, and they had an earpiece in, and I was just in my basement in my sweats looking through the stuff, and then I could sort of deliver the lines, but somebody else was doing all the talking and ceremony. I'd be fine with that.
When I argued that we should freeze federal spending, I meant Social Security as well. I meant Medicare and Medicaid. I meant veterans benefits. I meant every single solitary thing in the government. And I not only tried it once, I tried it twice, I tried it a third time, and I tried it a fourth time.
Bill Clinton. Nice guy. Got a lot of problems coming up, in my opinion, with the famous island with Jeffrey Epstein. A lot of problems.
Epstein in your remarks about in the Q&A.
Well, I think he's got a problem. I mean,
what do you think the problem will be?
I don't know, but that island was really a cesspool. There's no question about it. Just ask Prince Andrew. He'll tell you about it. The island was an absolute cesspool. So,
the Clintons are friends
and he's
of
been
yours,
there
right?
for many
The
times.
Clintons are friends
Well,
of
I
yours.
can't say friends, but I know
You're friendly. You know them.
They play at my clubs a lot. I have clubs, and everybody likes to play
Are you
at my
saying
clubs.
there's a political problem for her if she runs for president?
It could be a political problem. Look, he could be a political problem. Right now, he's Teflon, and right now, maybe not. But he could end up being a political.
Thank you, Seattle, for being one of the most progressive cities in the United States of America. Okay. Well, ask him.
If you do not listen to her, your event will be shut down right now. Make a decision now.
To let you on the mic. Okay. Okay. All right. So we are trying to be reasonable. We are trying to be reasonable. We are trying to be reasonable. We are trying. We're gonna give you. We're gonna let you on the mic. We are gonna give you the mic. We will after Senator Sanders. After Senator Sanders. After Senator Sanders.
Black people are going to save America from Joe Biden.
Think so? Okay.
We got tricked. He's weakened at Bernie's, bro. So black people is like, yo, champ, we might need Donnie back in there. I'm hearing the...
Called on the prescription drug companies to bring down the price of insulin to $35 to everyone, not just seniors. And today, Eli Lilly, the largest manufacturer of insulin in the United States of America, agreed to do just that. $35.
For hundreds and thousands of seniors enrolled in Medicare, that's a big deal. Participating plans will cap cost at just $35 a month per type of insulin, and some plans may offer it free. The press won't even cover it, but they'll cover things that are unimportant.
I don't know that anybody at the FBI or Department of Justice thinks they're going to make their career by charging the president's son, so I can't say I'm too optimistic about their work. But recently in Congress, we discovered those payments that go through pass-throughs but that send Chinese cash into the bank accounts of the Biden family. It is our belief in Congress that the first family is compromised by the Chinese Communist Party payments that they received. We're going to further evidence those payments. I'm particularly proud of the work of Chairman Jamie Comer in the House Oversight Committee, and we may be seeing Hunter Biden before that committee giving testimony very soon.
And by the way, I want to warn you. There are two types. The medals are beautiful. The ribbons are hung on. One doesn't separate. So any woman who I'm giving the one medal to, please don't get angry with me if I mess up your hair.
What is wrong with you?
Like, we wanted him because we wanted back to normalcy. Imagine if we had spent 24 hours of Donald Trump tweeting every 10 seconds about the balloon. We would all be at our therapist's office right now. We would be so on edge.
Okay, so today I got pulled into a check-in meeting with my administrator at school, and she had this lovely list of concerns that she wanted to bring to my attention. But my favorite amongst them is, we've noticed an intentional attempt at teaching your students about their legal and constitutional rights. That's the concern. They're concerned. Why are you concerned? Why is that a concern? Why is it a concern? Why is it a concern? Why does that concern you? Why is it a concern?
So for all those Republicans in Congress criticizing me today for high gas prices in America, are you now saying we were wrong to support Ukraine? Are you saying we were wrong to stand up to Putin? Are you saying that we would rather have lower gas prices in America and Putin's iron fist in Europe?
Yeah. Like, yeah, super yeah. We get cheaper gas? Yeah. Why would you even ask that question? Was this an option the whole time? I'm going yeah. I'm saying yeah. My vote is yeah. Yes.
Here's one member explaining his intention to vote no on raising the debt ceiling. Because this massive accumulation of debt was predicted, because it was foreseeable, because it was unnecessary.
So I don't know who that lawmaker is.
Well, let me tell you. It was President Joe Biden.
Oh, okay.
Back in 2006.
So, look.
Got him!
Mr. President, as you know, last Tuesday, the annual inflation rate came in at 8.3%. The stock market nosedived. People are shocked by their grocery bills. What can you do better and faster?
Well, first of all, let's put this in perspective. Inflation rate month to month was just an inch. Hardly at all.
You're not arguing that 8.3 is good news.
No, I'm not saying it is good news, but it was 8.2 or 8.2 before. I mean, it's not, I can make it sound like all of a sudden, my God, it went to 8.2%. It's
the highest inflation rate, Mr. President, in 40 years.
I got that. But guess what we are? We're in a position where for the last several months, it hasn't spiked. It has just barely, it's been basically.
The basis of Alvin Bragg's case is that Trump broke the law when he characterized a payment as legal fees when it was not in fact legal fees. You know who did the exact same thing at the exact same time? Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton in 2016, she paid over $1 million to develop the Steele dossier. The Steele dossier, you remember that fantastical fictional piece that had all sorts of lurid accusations against Donald Trump. Hillary Clinton's campaign paid over $1 million for it, and she called that money legal fees.
Now he turns around purely for political purposes and indicts a former president on misdemeanor offenses that they're straining to try to convert into felonies. That is when you know that the law has been weaponized for political purposes. That is when you know that the left is using that to target their political opponents.
The former president will not return, or that his political movement, which is still very strong, will not once again take power in the United States.
Well, we just have to demonstrate that he will not take power by if he does run, making sure he, under the legitimate efforts of our Constitution, does not become the next president again.
75% of voters say the country is heading into the wrong direction, despite the results of last night. What in the next 2 years do you intend to do differently to change people's opinion of the direction of the country, particularly as you contemplate a run for president in 2024?
Nothing.
Can you name any rights men have today that women don't?
Any rights that men have that women do not? Any rights that men have that women do not? No. No.
So then what laws are feminists fighting for?
Shit, that's a good one. Shit, that's a good one.
He's lying because they know they got caught red-handed. They don't acknowledge it with contracts because it looks terrible. It's highly unethical. And they really can't defend it. Look, here's what people need to understand. When Joe Biden was vice president of the United States, on his way out the door, he, his brother, his son were going all across the globe, a lot to China, trying to find ways to create, in my opinion, this business venture called Biden Inc. And what is this business venture? It's all about influence peddling. He leaves office and then $1 million shows up in their bank accounts through all the different members of the family. We all know what this is, America. These are handouts to the Biden family because of influence peddling. Fast forward to now, he's president of the United States. The American people should understand how much money has gone to his family from foreign entities. And if that is impacting his decision making as commander in chief, the American people have a right to know.
Chris, he's calling for everyone to act on their God-given constitutional rights in the First Amendment to peaceably assemble and protest this corruption. And Chris, you just said it. You said the people should decide. You should let's have a debate. Let's have an election. The real problem here is they're trying to take away that choice from the American people. These corrupt DAs, the DOJ, the FBI, you name it, for 7 years, they haven't been investigating crimes. They've been investigating a person. Why? To stop him and to stop his political movement. And you talked about two sides in this country. You're onto something here, but the two sides are not left and right. It's the uniparty, the people in power versus the people. That is the two sides here that we have right now. And you talk about all the bad things happening in our country. The uniparty is very content with the status quo because they get richer, they get more power, and they're happy as long as those two things continue. Well, who disrupts the status quo? It's President Donald J. Trump in the best way, in making America great again, restoring us to common sense, peace, and prosperity, which we had under his first term. So that's what he wants to get back to. That's what we need to protest, this corruption that is out of control and interfering in our elections.
The people who own the news channels decided it was better if Trump wasn't in the White House. They thought, you know what? He doesn't listen to us, and I think I know best, and I want a president who's senile and will sign anything we give him. So let's get rid of Trump, let's get Sleepy Joe, and let's do whatever it takes to put our guy there, so when I give him a page of legislation 50 pages long, he doesn't even read it, he just signs it. Trump, he read it. Can't stand that guy. I ain't got time for him. I'm trying to save the world. I'm a good person. I know what's best. My family's been in charge forever. I know what the good things for the world are. And that's all that's really happening. People are really trying to force their worldviews, and these people have huge influence.
Do you think that it's just the media, or do you think it's technology companies?
I think it's everything.
But how can it be everything?
Because power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. These people have so much control, so much power. They decide truth at this point. It's not about truth is subjective. True, false doesn't exist, right? If everyone in the world were to simultaneously agree that 2 + 2 = 5, then 2 + 2 now equals 5. It doesn't matter if math doesn't work anymore. The whole world believes 2 + 2 = 5. That's now true. If they control what people see and control how people think, then they control what's true and what's false. Trump is racist because they said he's racist. He hasn't done anything racist, but they said he's racist to the point where Trump's now a racist. That's now true. These people now can literally bend reality in real time.
Having classified documents from when he was vice president. I'm like, okay, yeah, technically that was hypocritical, but how about the fact that he laundered money through Ukraine, through Metabiota, right? In order to line his own pockets using DoD contracts? Or how about the fact that he basically blackmailed Ukraine into firing the prosecutor that was looking into Burisma? Or how about the fact that he took inappropriate showers with his daughter in her own handwriting in his diary? Or how about the fact that he knew his son was sexually abusing his other relative underage and he covered it up, which is against Delaware law? And you could just name all the other things that he's done that have been absolutely corrupt. And it's like, but you're talking about the documents that he had? I mean, like, the worst part about the fact that he had these documents in his garage is you're not supposed to have flammable objects next to a meth lab. Right. We get distracted with these small hypocrisies when the greater crimes just go totally unnoticed. It's like the guy should have been in jail 10, 15 years ago.
Card saying refugees welcome here. Yes. I'm just wondering if you'd like to go down on a list saying you're willing to take the refugees into your home.
Of course not. Only problem is I rent.
Just because you've got that refugees welcome here, I'm just wondering if you'd like to go on a list of people that's willing to actually adopt a refugee and take them into your home.
Well, if I had any space, I would.
If you had any space.
It wouldn't be...
Right,
okay.
Rental.
Yeah.
You can't do it.
Yeah.
Someone else's job.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. To adopt a refugee and take them into your home?
No, I'm sorry, I can't.
You can't take one?
I don't have a space.
Don't have the space. You can have a refugee stay at your house?
Yeah, I don't mind.
You go on the list?
I don't mind, yeah, I can take them in the thing. Oh wait, I can't, because my house is only a little small. And
amazing, that's what I was waiting for. Thank you, darling. Excuse me, my love, will you go on my list of people that's willing to adopt a refugee?
No, thank you.
No, thank you. Excuse me, would you be willing to adopt a refugee into your home?
No.
No. Would you adopt a refugee into your home?
No, thank you.
No? So where should we put them then?
Sorry?
Where should we put them?
Sorry, I probably missed
Don't worry about it, don't worry about it. Excuse me, sir. Would you be willing to adopt a refugee?
I would be willing, yeah, if I had the space.
If you had the space?
Yeah.
So where should we put them then?
Where should we put them?
Yeah.
There's
Let me ask you a question. If there was a basketball game between some random people in the street, let's say we were to go out there and get 5 people for each side basketball game and told them the winner was going to get $10,000 and there was no referee, do you think that somebody might try and cheat a little bit?
I think I would expect them to cheat.
Exactly. So if people out on the street will cheat for $10,000, you're telling me the people in charge of the world aren't going to cheat to keep control? They're not going to lie? They're not going to trick the general populace to keep us all as slaves? We're talking about cheating over a little basketball game. You're talking about they're not going to cheat an election?
Do you think
to control the free world? Of course they'll cheat. This is humans, we'll all cheat. This is the exact point. These people in charge of all this stuff, all they've ever done is cheat. Why would they play by the rules? You can't risk losing.
And I was wondering if anyone in the Biden administration was in touch with Baker, either regarding moderation decisions that critics call political censorship or regarding his transparency efforts recently.
So it's up to private companies to make these types of decisions. We were not involved.
We are in regular touch with these social media platforms, and those engagements typically happen through members of our senior staff. We're flagging problematic posts for Facebook that spread this.
My perception of you doesn't affect you unless you let it. Like, if you call me an I'm not gonna be like, man, I'm an I'm gonna be like, no. Like, that doesn't mean anything to me. So if I identify as a male, or if I identify as a female, and somebody calls me the opposite, why does that matter? Because it doesn't affect me.
But it does affect those people, because
But
people
that's a choice.
That for them to be affected?
Yeah.
Well, obviously how you react to scenarios, it's like, it's entirely up to you, but in these scenarios, it's like, when you have someone and they're just purposely misgendering you, it's because they don't look at you like that. They don't look at you like you are.
Yeah, but why does it matter how they look at you? If I'm in that situation and I'm trans, why do I have to force someone else to perceive me the way I want them to?
You technically don't have to, but the thing about it is when it comes to being a trans woman and having someone purposely just be like, you're a man, just because you have a still.
If you say that and someone gets offended. Well, they can be offended. What's wrong with being offended? When did sticks and stones may break my bones stop being relevant? Isn't that what you teach children, for God's sake? That's what you teach toddlers. He called me an idiot. Don't worry about him. He's a dick. Now you have adults going, I was offended, and I have rights. Well, so what? Be offended. Nothing happens. You're an adult. Grow up. Deal with it. I was offended. I don't care. Nothing happens when you're offended. There's nothing. I went to the comedy show, and the comedian said something about the Lord, and I was offended. And when I woke up in the morning, I had leprosy.
Over these last 18 months, Democrats have delivered. Let me rephrase that. Over these last 18 months, Democrats have delivered big time.
Don't laugh. That was the highlight. That was the high point of the speech. And boy, haven't the Democrats delivered big time. Biggest gas prices, big inflation, more than 2 million illegal immigrants crossing the southern border. That's big. And don't forget the dramatic increase in violent crime in Democrat-run cities.
How about that? How about that?
She put over 1,500 people in jail for marijuana violations and then laughed about it when she was asked if she ever smoked marijuana. She blocked evidence. She blocked evidence that would have freed an innocent man from death row until the courts forced her to do so. She kept people in prison beyond their sentences to use them as cheap labor for the state of California. And she fought to keep cash bail system in place that impacts poor people in the worst kind of way.
Thank you, Congresswoman. Senator Harris, your response.
I know how disappointed you feel because I feel it too. This is painful, and it will be for a long time.
What I learned is that the Russians were successful. You can run the best campaign, you can even become the nominee, and you can have the election stolen from you.
And let's not forget sexism and
misogyny. There was a lot of sexism and misogyny. There was voter suppression. There was the FBI's intervention. And then there were the Russians. Russian WikiLeaks, Russia, Russian interference, and Russians, Putin, the Russians. The election meant on October 27th, I'd be your president.
Yeah, right.
I said, no, I'm not going to, we're not going to give you the $1 billion. They said, you have no authority. You're not the president. The president said, I said, call him. I said, I'm telling you, you're not getting the $1 billion. I said, you're not getting the $1 billion. I'm going to be leaving here. And I think it was, 6 hours? I said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Oh, son of a bitch. Got fired.
I don't know. Life is good. We get to do anything we want. It's crazy how free we are in America. I know everyone says that, there's no freedom anymore, blah, blah. No, if I want to be a lady tomorrow, I can. That's how good we have it. I can just be a lady tomorrow, and none of you will say shit. I'll be at the coffee shop and your kids will be looking at me and you'll be like, don't stare at the... Not one person's gonna go, what's with the 6'4" bearded? Not one person. That's how we just do anything. That's how good it is to be us. My dad couldn't have done that. My dad couldn't have just worn a dress to the factory. They would have murdered him. They'd have been arrested. The judge would have been some old white bigot. He'd be like, well, they had to kill him. He's wearing a dress. Not guilty. Get out of here, boys. Right? That's... Not now. Not in the good time. Now, if I wear a dress to work and you don't call me Christine, you're fired. What a time to be alive.
Imagine if the rainbow community was forced by their employers to show allegiance to Christianity. They were forced to read Bibles every day, forced to wear crosses and t-shirts with Jesus on them. Imagine if they weren't allowed to disagree with Christian beliefs on social media. And if they didn't comply, they would be banned, fired from their jobs, shamed by the media and celebrities and culture. People would say, this is America. We have the freedom to choose which religion we want to follow, what God we worship. And that would be true. But that's what's happening every day to people who disagree with the rainbow community, with the rainbow religion. They don't want our beliefs forced on them, but they're forcing their beliefs on us and our children.
If there's any historians in here, tell me this, okay? You tell me when there was a country who was like a great nation, a superpower, started as a republic, then turned into an empire, and then it spent itself way too far into debt, expanded itself way too far militarily, and then the culture started to fall apart. And then everything worked out great. Is that a thing, ever? No! It all goes one way. And this is it. We're in the end of the empire. But it's fucking entertaining. No one ever told you how much fun it was gonna be. I think that's what historians always miss. Like, they're like, how do these great nations fall apart? And it's fun.
You're tired of straight white men having the power and everything, and it's like, we as women of color, as students at this university, we're very much capable of certain things, and we don't have the same privileges that are offered to straight white men.
And I've been hearing that from a lot of the ladies that I've been talking to today. Talk to me about what some of those privileges are that, straight white men have that you don't have. Talk to me about that.
I think I don't really know. Have you ever experienced a specific instance?
No, but I also need to go.
I know, I do need to go. I'm sorry.
Crazy that the guy that the world thought was going to start World War III, the world was at peace, and the guy that thought that was going to bring world peace has created the world into mayhem. Everybody thought Biden was going to bring a lot of peace. It's been a shit show when it comes down to safety. And everybody thought Trump was going to bring war. The only place it was a shit show was on Twitter, okay, when he was here.
Be funny if it weren't so serious that Joe Biden got caught doing exactly the same thing that he attacked Donald Trump for, even though it's likely in many ways what Joe Biden and the Biden Center have been caught doing is even worse than what they've accused President Trump of. Don't forget, by the way, that the Biden Center was funded by, I think, $60 million from the Chinese Communist Party, and they had all of these classified documents about national security related issues, Ukraine, a lot of other issues at the Biden Center. We still don't know what the documents at Mar-a-Lago were, but we do know that these were serious documents. And never forget, by the way, President of the United States has the power to declassify classified documents, not the Vice President. So it's likely that President Biden did break the law and in a very serious nature, and we should investigate it.
Elise Stefanik, she said that the FBI's inaction on the Hunter Biden laptop and the FBI's meddling with Twitter, which we now all know about because of the hearings the other day, with the suppression of the New York Post's story about the Hunter Biden laptop, had a direct and measurable effect on the 2020 election. And Elise Stefanik brought the proof.
According to polling, of the people that were made aware of the Hunter Biden laptop story, 53% would have changed their vote, including 61% of Democrats. This is the definition of election meddling, and it's the definition of election meddling by the FBI on behalf of Democrats, paid for by the U.S. taxpayers. It's collusion, it's corruption, and it's unconstitutional.
For your colleges?
Yeah.
For everybody?
Yeah.
Free?
Yeah. Print the name, signature, email, and then the additional percentage of your salary that you'd like to donate in order to be able to afford it.
What? All right, do I have to donate now, or can I?
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
Like,
No, I'll do it next time then. Okay.
Next time.
I'm not. I thought it was just a petition.
I'm gonna have to think about that. Okay. All right.
I'll be back.
All right. Thank you. And then right here, you're gonna put the percentage of your salary that you would like to donate annually in order to help pay for free college.
Oh, I can't do that.
You can't do that?
No.
Oh, okay. Any of you guys want to do that?
To this?
Pay for it?
Pay for it? No.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay. So now?
Yeah.
All right. No worries at all.
It's very easy to be generous with other people's money.
If you told me to do an impression of Biden, I go, I don't know what he sounds like. But then when you hear someone do it, you go, that's it.
Yeah, there's young people online that do some amazing. But Biden was just, kind of initially as my father lost his job.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
It's
no joke. No joke. No one thinks it's a joke. Not kidding around here. Come on, like the founding clause is proclaimed in the Declaration of Independence. The people, all men are created equally. Created, pirates of the Caribbean.